Thank you for downloading Just to Clarify. You can download more podcasts on www.livemint.com/radio.
Every media outlet worth its 48-point headlines has been celebrating Slumdog Millionaire's Oscar nominations over the last month or so. On Just to Clarify, we wanted to take you backstage to check out the actual mechanics of Oscar nominations and regulations and to answer some basic questions. Why, for example, did Slumdog Millionaire get a Best Film nomination as opposed to a Best Foreign Film one? In the eyes of the Academy, is it an Indian film or a British film or an American one? What even makes a movie eligible for the Best Film award in the first place? Our guest today, Rajiv Rai, is an executive in the banking industry, but that isn't why he's here. Appropriately enough, to discuss a movie centered around a quiz show, Rajiv is one of India's leading quizzers. He was never on Kaun Banega Crorepati, but way back in 1998, when the BBC quiz show Mastermind India began airing, Rajiv was the first televised contestant, and his specialized topic of choice was the Academy Awards. Rajiv, thank you so much for joining us today on Just to Clarify. Rajiv, thank you so much for joining us today on Just to Clarify. I wanted to first ask you, what determines the nationality of a film? I mean, we spoke about Slumdog, which is, of course, sort of the movie du jour for this particular month. This is a film that is shot in India, and it was supposedly produced in Britain, and Fox Searchlight released it, which makes it an American distributor. And yet it has been nominated for the Best Picture as opposed to the Best Foreign Film. So why is that? I mean, how do we distinguish between these nationality clauses?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because to begin with, it's not the Foreign Film Award.
Okay.
It's the Foreign Language Film.
Okay.
So that straight away disqualifies all English films. Therefore, you would never see any Brit English film ever making it. Though several of them would have won the Best Picture. And for that matter, Amitabh Bachchan's Lear's Last Stand, if it was a very good movie, wouldn't have been eligible for this award because the movie has to be predominantly in a non-English language.
Predominantly, because I do know a certain portion of Slumdog is in Hindi. With
there is the first part of it, they do talk in Hindi, but when they talk about predominance, I guess that may mean 75-80%, I'm not sure. But definitely more than 51%. To cite, there was this movie called The Band, the Israeli movie that got disqualified during the nomination process because while it was Israeli, they had shot it predominantly in English.
I see.
So that rules it out. That's the main clause. It's a foreign language film.
Okay.
However, the Academy also recognized that while recognizing foreign language film, it should also be a non-American film.
Okay.
Again, you would see some people may have wondered why Letters from Iwo Jima, which is a Japanese film,
That's right.
was one of the shortlisted movies for the Best Picture and not the Best Foreign Language Film. That's because it was made in America. The next clause is that this is a movie, it's one movie per country, and therefore the affiliation of the country is very important. It is India which has decided to nominate a particular movie, and therefore the controversy regarding Eklavya and Dharm that happened.
Right.
So it comes from the country. So if the country has not exercised adequate control, artistic control, the Academy may choose to disqualify it. For example, that Ang Lee movie Lust Caution, while was nominated by Taiwan, but given the fact that it was done with Chinese actors and technicians and Hollywood stuff, they disqualified it.
Right. But how would a country be legitimately placed to submit a particular movie for their own entry? I'm thinking, of course, of the last Deepa Mehta movie, which was submitted as a Canadian entry rather than an Indian entry.
Initially, till I think before 2006, the movie had to be in the official language of the country. So the only foreign language films that Canada could have nominated before that was if it was made in French.
Right.
Because French and English are the official languages for Canada. The Academy cited the case of this movie called Private, which was an Italian movie but made in Arabic, and it was disqualified in that year. They cited this case and said, we are taking cognizance of the fact that the world is getting flat, and languages are no longer limited to official in a country. So any language, as long as it is made in that country, but not English.
Okay, so the ultimate arbiter is really where the production funds come from, is it?
Not just the production, predominant artistic creativity should be from that country. The key people, I think they look at editors and some of the 2-3 top things, obviously some of the actors and the director, producer, these kind of people.
How does a movie become eligible to compete for the Best Picture Oscar?
Yeah, there are a bunch of rules. Some of them are pretty obvious, like it should be a feature film, which the Academy defines as being minimum 40 minutes. It has to be publicly exhibited. That's an interesting point because if you release it on the internet before you publicly exhibit it, you get disqualified.
I see. Okay.
It would be interesting to note that Slumdog Millionaire was destined for a direct-to-DVD, till Searchlight came in and rescued it and enabled a theatre release. So it wouldn't have been in the nominee.
Even if it goes to DVD first and then goes to a public exhibition, it doesn't count, is it?
Yeah, if more than 10 minutes of the movie were to be available on the internet or on TV, you're out.
Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, Bluebird, a Dutch movie, which could have possibly won the Best Film Award in 2004 in the foreign film section, of course, was disqualified when they later found out about this.
I see. That's interesting. Okay.
So that's the second rule. The third rule is a bit of a regional stuff because most of the Academy members happen to be based in LA. So the movie has to be exhibited at least for a week in the Los Angeles County. And this whole voting is actually a 3-month kind of thing, started somewhere in December 8th last year, 2008, and is going to conclude on February 22nd. And for the best movie, of course, everybody votes.
Okay.
And February 22nd, we'll have the Pricewaterhouse guys getting the results to Hugh Jackman, who is comparing it, and he'll be announcing it.
Okay, so Pricewaterhouse is the accounting firm that collates and figures out the winners, right?
Yeah, they've been doing it for over 80 years now.
Okay.
And given the fact that they also counted the cash of Satyam,
right,
one would want to wonder, but yeah, they have done a pretty good job over it.
True, yes. A related Slumdog question that I wanted to ask, and it's something that we discussed earlier, is with regard to the Best Directing Award. The nominations have been announced this year. Very often we've seen Loveleen Tandon credited with Danny Boyle as a co-director of this movie. But the nominations just list Danny Boyle. They don't list Loveleen Tandon at all. So why is that?
Yeah, this Loveleen Tandon is an interesting story. Loveleen Tandon was originally just the casting director. She helped finalize most of the cute kids and the guys we saw in the movie. And that was her primary role throughout the movie. However, given the fact that this movie was being made by Brits in India and they needed a cultural bridge, they found that Loveleen's contribution kind of transcended beyond just casting. She helped them with important tips in terms of how to film scenes and stuff like that. So they said that just putting her as a casting director would be not giving her full credit, so they made her a co-director.
Co-director, that's what it says.
Kind of an unusual credit, not normally given. But that was it. She was not the director. In fact, the Directors Guild of USA has specific rules on this, and they wouldn't allow people to be listed as even joint directors. For a long time, one of them used to be the producer and the other the director, because the guild wouldn't allow it.
Okay.
What the guild says is once you become an established duo, then you could possibly do that. In general, it's very rare that two people will get the Best Oscar Director. It has happened a couple of times for West Side Story and now for No Country for Old Men, but doesn't happen normally. So Loveleen Tandon, really speaking, was not the director, and she herself was fairly clear about it. Apparently, there was a campaign launched by a few, I think, feminists in the U.S. who said that there are so few women directors being recognized, and we should have her also as one of the nominees. But she hastened to clarify that that was not her role, and she would be embarrassed if that was the case.
I see, okay. Again, a Slumdog related question, which is A.R. Rahman's nomination in Best Score and Best Song. In fact, the Best Score nominations, there's been some controversy over the last couple of years where composers have been eliminated for using their own original work, but work that was composed for another film. So there is, again, a grey area at issue here that it might be interesting to clarify how sort of they pick these scores for nomination.
The fact is that the Academy over the years has been, in my mind, they've been doing a good job of it. They've been trying to ensure that they honor the best in each of the areas. And what they say for the original score is that it should be given for the original work for that movie. And on this count, they disqualified There Will Be Blood last year, where the Radiohead guitarist Johnny Greenwood had done excellent work. It was clearly in the minds of critics the best piece of music in movies that year. However, a significant portion of that score had been composed by Greenwood before, and not really in movies, but for some BBC productions, stuff like that. And also he had borrowed a bit of classical music. He had put in there, around 40 minutes of it. So clearly, going by the rules as stated by the Academy, he was ineligible, and it really, while they were eliminated, but they did not complain about it. Where the critics had a problem was that the year before, Babel, the surprise winner of the Best Picture, also won the original score Oscar. Gustavo Santaolalla did it, and there again there was a significant amount of non-original music. Somehow it slipped through the Academy's review process, but he had won it. So they kind of assumed that maybe There Will Be Blood will get through as well. So that's the controversy in the last 2 years we have been seeing. However, the origin of this controversy is fairly old. Godfather in 1973 did not win the best score. And the reason for that apparently was because Nino Rota, the Italian music director, had used a similar piece of music in an earlier movie called Fortunella.
Okay.
A little different composition, faster and slower difference, but the same thing. And they had disqualified him. However, the next year they gave it for Godfather 2, when again he had used the same piece of music at some junctures in the movie. So there has been a bit of inconsistency, but if you go through the changes that are happening all around the world, the Academy is doing a fair job.
Okay, great. And on a personal front, Rajiv, did you think Slumdog is good enough to win the Best Picture Oscar?
I would like it to win, but seriously, I don't think it probably deserves it.
Okay.
In any other year, it probably would not have won, but this year, probably the competition is a bit on the lighter side. Benjamin Button, while technically a great movie, is probably as a story, difficult to relate to a guy reversing in age. So
Right.
I think Slumdog will win, but the Oscar that it surely should win is the best song. There are only 3 songs in contention,
Right.
and 2 of them are Rahman's, and both the songs are quite good.
Great. I'm sure all of us will be watching. Thanks, Rajiv, so much for joining us on Just to Clarify. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Samanth.
They can't touch me. We break off, run so fast they can't even touch me. Written out to see. Touch me, I show you tricks. Must exact quickly.